Salutations friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a fragrance first impression of a scent that I just had picked from my sample box bag bucket, and it's from Akro and it's Malt. I'm excited to review this fragrance because it has a unique note in here, and I'm excited to try it and let you guys know what I think. So let's get into the video. First things first, hi, my name is Kristin. I run this channel called Beauty Meow. I am a fragrance enthusiast and a fragrance collector. I am not an expert or an authority. I'm just a girl who likes to sit here and share her love of scent. I use YouTube as a way to connect with other people who love fragrance. So I like to share my thoughts and consumer reviews, discussions, chit chats, recommendations, and the like. So if you enjoy that type of content, make sure to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click the little bell so you can be notified when I have new videos. Now, this little sample was part of a gift with purchase. Sometimes when you purchase things from websites, they will send you like little samples in your order. That's where I got this. I'm not sure when, where, how, but I do know this was one of them. So this was not sent to me by the brand or any brand to review this. This was a kind of little freebie when I made an order. If you are unfamiliar with how I do my fragrance first impressions, let me just kind of remind you, I like to share thoughts with fragrances. I know that a first impressions is not a true way to give you a good glimpse on how a fragrance truly develops on the skin, how it performs, but it's a great way to share with you my initial impressions on a first impression and a dry down. And if I think this fragrance is worth picking up, or if my views change, I will do an updated review. But generally, I will let you guys know what I think about the dry down and the opening. Normally, fragrances that are malty, a little bit boozy, that have a nice kind of woody base, need about like 35 minutes to about an hour on my skin to dry down. So I actually already sprayed this on this hand right here. It's been on here for about an hour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this right here. I'm going to give it about 15 to 20 seconds to dry down on my skin. I will give you my first impressions of the opening, and then I will smell this hand right here, this wrist right here, and I'm going to let you guys know what I think about the dry down. So I'm going to spray this and then I'm going to let you guys know the notes, and then that will be as the fragrance dries down, and I will give you the first impression of the opening and then the dry down. So anyway, enough talking in circles, let's spray. And I'm really happy that this is a sprayer. I'm one of those people that I prefer atomizers for samples than dabbers. It's just my personal preference. So I like to spray 3 times what I sprayed over here. Now, as this kind of settles on the skin a little bit, let me give you the notes. Akro, this is exciting. So Akro, for a 100 ml bottle of malt, you're looking at spending $160. So this is a pricey fragrance, but it isn't crazy and excessively priced, which is really, really good. I have no experience with this brand, but I've heard a lot of people say really good things about this brand. And when I was looking for a fragrance to do for a first impression today, I saw this scent. I remembered somebody saying something interesting about malt, and I was like, okay, let me look at the notes and see if this is something that I wanted to do today. And oh my goodness, yes. So the notes in this, you have whiskey, rum, leather, patchouli, and seaweed. I am so excited and also horrified for this seaweed note. And I love it when there's kind of interesting notes. There was a fragrance, I forget, it was from Electimus. I think it was black caviar. And the caviar note, for some reason, did not work on my skin. I haven't found a fragrance from Electimus that has worked for me yet. Like, I don't know if that brand vibes with my body chemistry, but I do like it when brands use specific notes to evoke things rather than just like, if you're looking for salt, if you're looking for brininess, if you're looking for something to add a clarity to a fragrance rather than using what the standards are, using different things to be creative and different. I get excited for that. And so for like a leathery whiskey patchouli with a seaweed note, I'm very excited. So, okay, we're going to smell the opening of this. So let's see how this goes. So this smells really nice so far. I'm getting almost like a tobacco note, like a very wet, very kind of moist tobacco note, like a ready to be not like a dry, ashy tobacco, but it's not so much a tobacco. It's a bit of booze. I would say the booziness is almost like you have like a barrel of rum and it's almost like it's on a marina. So you smell the saltiness, you smell the wood, the damp wood, and then you smell like the booziness. The booziness isn't in the front and center, but you're getting kind of the malty booziness from the whiskey. I do like that you're picking up less of the alcohol and more of the nuances or the flavor of the booze, which is really nice. And so far, I'm definitely picking up a saltiness, but not like salt as in the flavor profile. So sometimes you'll smell a salty fragrance and it smells like you just ate a teaspoonful of salt and you're just like, oh, that smells a little bit too much. And it can almost smell sweaty. And sometimes that can be really attractive when mixed properly. It can be the type of sweat, you know, like when you're dancing or if you're going somewhere and you see somebody really attractive and they're just a little bit sweaty and it's like in a really attractive way, or it can be like in not an attractive way. Sometimes salt utilized in a scent can be like the smelling of very sexy primed skin. And this isn't like a salt like that. It's not like a sweaty skin, sexy, attractive, confident saltiness, but it's definitely nice. It's very interesting. This will have to develop on my skin. I'm hoping an hour is enough. I think it should be enough. Sometimes some fragrances that have saltiness needs a little bit more time on my skin. Just that's basically how my body chemistry works. If I think it needs a little bit more time, I'll come back, but we'll see. So far it's pulling masculine. And what I mean by pulling masculine is if you were to smell a fragrance that was marketed to men on the men's fragrance side versus the types of compositions and more predominant notes on women's fragrances. So again, more fruits, more sweet gourmands, more very soft florals over here. You have more aromatic, more woods, more freshies over here in regards to like tobaccos and leathers, and you see like more sage and more of a medicinal lavender over here. I definitely see more boozy scents over here. This definitely feels as more of a masculine marketed fragrance. There's nothing about it that smells like a fragrance that would be marketed to women. It doesn't mean that men or women can't wear it. You can wear whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. I myself like to wear whatever, so you can wear whatever. But I am liking very much that this smells. There's something about it that's very grounded. I do want to see how it smells, how it's been on my skin for a while. So let's get to that. I'm interested to see how the seaweed note is going to change. I am getting a maltiness. Again, not like a maltiness of, say, like a malted milkshake, but a maltiness from obviously a malted beverage. I would expect if there was a whiskey note in here for it to be that kind of maltiness. There's no hoppiness in here. The booziness in here is not like an alcoholic booziness that you can get from some rum type of fragrances, or some fragrances that have almost like a champagne note or like a wine note where it smells almost like an alcoholic beverages or dessert, which is fantastic and I love. You're getting kind of like if you took whiskey and you cooked off the alcohol, what was left? That's kind of like the flavor, or again, like the wood is soaked with the whiskey after you poured out the whiskey. What does that barrel smell like? That's kind of like what I'm getting. And I'm actually really liking that. So this smells, I'm definitely getting a seaweed note in here, and I'm really excited for this seaweed note so far, but I will say that it is not it's not a challenging, intimidating seaweed note. So I don't know if many people have lived on the ocean or have been in an area where there is a lot of seaweed. I always like to tell people I lived in Florida. My dad was a surfer. I grew up going to the beach. Sometimes we would go to the ocean and the tide would bring in what felt like tons and tons and tons of seaweed. And sometimes that seaweed would be sitting on the ocean or sitting on the beach all day, baking in the sun. So you would have this hot, humid, it'd be like 102, 103 degrees outside. It would be super humid. You'd be sitting on the beach. I'm obviously the color of mayonnaise. I'm like so pale. So I mean, I'm like covered in sunscreen. I'm hot, I'm miserable, and I'm smelling this like heavy seaweed, hot stickiness. Like there are some smells that just elicit memories of unpleasantness for me. But there also can be notes and smells that when used properly can elicit really positive responses. So the seaweed can smell overpowering, it can smell too fishy, it can smell too briny, it can smell too much like the tide came in a bad way and not like evocative of something aquatic and oceanic, like salty and briny. And to me, this smells like maybe a pirate ship crashed in one of their whiskey barrels or their rum barrels, washed up on the shore. What would that smell like? So it has some of the smells of the sea, but it also has this kind of deep malty woodiness to it. There is a bit of patchouli in here, obviously. I don't really get much patchouli on its own. I feel like it's more bringing up like the leather and the wood and this kind of salty green. It's not like a slimy note, but if you smelled seaweed, if you know what seaweed smells like, then I think you'd understand what I'm trying to say, because it's a very distinctive green note. I would say, if I could describe it in a wrong way, but you know how some white florals can smell indolic? So you have like, let's say tuberose, and then you have like the bright fresh tuberose, you have the more creamy tuberose, and then you have like the indolic tuberose that smells slightly rotten, slightly slimy, almost creamy, almost overtly ripe. That is kind of what seaweed can smell like. It can smell like an almost indolic green grassy note. It smells a little slippery, it smells a little bit salty, it smells a little bit briny, and it's very distinctively seaweed. And it has a great flavor. I actually love eating seaweed, but smelling it sometimes can be a little much. But I like that it's balanced here. There's a bit of a smokiness. There's an undertone of a slight, weirdly barbecue vibe, a sweetness, a kind of a malty, fruity sweetness to this that I'm enjoying. There's a dryness to this too, which I like a lot, because if this fragrance was a little bit more damp, a little bit more fresh, a little bit more aquatic, I feel like it would be disjointed. I like that it's on the drier side, personally. I like that it's a dry, woody, aromatic fragrance that's leaning on slightly salty, slightly dried seaweed notes, rather than the more kind of slimy, greeny seaweed that could almost be a little bit too briny, a little bit too sea lifey. I think it's working really well. I do, on my skin, I'm pulling nice like nuances of whiskey flavor as a smell. Really beautiful. It is dry, it is smoky, there is a bit of almost like a tanned leather-esque type smell. Again, the patchouli here is more kind of working as a foundation for everything else. So if you're a little bit scared of patchouli, this doesn't smell too patchouli-esque, at least on my skin. But overall, I'm actually really impressed. So this will probably be something I will need to wear, but this is interesting enough that this might be something I might want to invest in to add to my collection, because I like seeing interesting notes utilized in a way that's creative and wearable and unique. And I think seaweed is one of those notes that you really don't see too often utilized in perfumery. So far so good. My first impression of this fragrance is obviously positive. I really like it. It is not an intimidating or challenging scent, and the reason why I'm kind of preferencing that is, again, sometimes salty, briny, unique notes that can be a little bit weird on the skin or are not so commonly known. And what I mean by that is most people might know what lemon smells like on the skin. Most people might understand, like, I can't wear leather. Leather smells bad on my skin. I can't wear oud. Oud smells bad on my skin. If I smell grapefruit for some reason, it doesn't work. People have an understanding of what combinations, what types of scents, what type of compositions, what types of formulas work on their skin. But there are sometimes some out-of-the-box types of accords or notes where people might be like, I don't know how that's going to work on my skin, and I'm not going to invest the time or money to try. And seaweed might be one of those notes where they're just like, I don't want to smell like that, especially if you've lived on the coast or if you visited a beach and you're like, no. But I can say, if you've had any negative experience with Seaweed, I know I'm really harping on the Seaweed, but I've had so many memories with Seaweed, so many, that for me, if I didn't have an adventurous spirit when it came to perfume, I would probably run for the hills. But I am happy to see that this is utilized in a very creative, positive way that's really kind of adding to the story that this fragrance seems to be telling, and not detracting in a way that makes it smell gimmicky or cheap or smell bad. I like that it's adding this kind of very almost semi, and I know this is the incorrect term, but it's the one that I thought of currently, almost indolic greenness to a very dry, woody, kind of smoky, malty, slightly boozy in a way of nuanced flavors of whiskey, not like a boozy, again, you're not like vodka or champagne or wine in a fragrance where you smell the alcohol, you're smelling the flavors of whiskey scent. There's something very manly, handsome, rugged, rebellious about this fragrance. While at the same time, I think that it's also very tame. There's ways that this fragrance seems like it could easily smell very challenging, very intimidating, but there's something about this that seems very sexy. And I'm actually really excited to wear through this sample. So I'm gonna wear through it, and if this works on my skin long term in regards to it works really well and it still smells as good as this is definitely something that I'd pick up. So also $160 for 100 ml. I don't think that's incredibly overpriced for the quality of fragrance that you're getting. It smells really good. It's interesting, and I'm kind of excited for it. So I know I've talked way too long about this fragrance, so we're going to stop talking now. I get excited with new scents, and as you guys are, if this is your first time tuning in, I love woody fragrances. I love unique, interesting wood scents, so I get really excited for these types of fragrances too. So we're going to stop talking about this fragrance. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've tried this fragrance and you agree with me, or you disagree with me, or if you've tried this and this takes a crazy weird turn, let me know what you guys think about this scent below, or if there's any other fragrances from this house that you like or dislike, let me know in the comment section below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.